This is Skip versus Ernestine, round 13.
Now, lucky 13.
I hope this isn't unlucky 13th, as in jinxed or doomed.
It's lucky 13.
Yeah, I suffer a little from triskaidekaphobia, which is obviously fear of the number 13.
You've got a lot of fears.
I do, but that's one of my worst.
Jinx fear things.
But it's our 13th. We have no choice.
Pretty good.
I don't want to skip to 14, like...
Oh, like an elevator?
Yeah, like an elevator. But let's just try 13. Here we go. So I'm Skip from Oklahoma City. This is my wife, Ernestine, from New York City. And as always, we are refereed by Hazel from Burbank, California. She's a valley girl who loves to sleep in the LA sun.
She does. She loves the sun.
But
loves the sun.
You better watch out, because when she goes into attack mode, it can register on the Richter scale out here, right?
She's a little wacky.
Yeah,
she's
very wacky, but we love her. And speaking of love, as always, we love all of your questions, all of your comments. We appreciate them. We're astounded by them.
Great.
Questions, comments from all over the world. We're going to get to those, but let's start with a comment from @Mandy111, who says that going into round 12 last week, she had carefully scored the first 11 episodes of Skip versus Ernestine, and that, and I quote Mandy, Ernestine holds a 7-4 edge. And I'm like, what?
Yay.
Mandy, what were you watching?
Yay me.
Yay you.
Yeah. She's a girl after my own
but
heart.
Obviously, I was 11-0 in the first 11.
Well, I don't mean
now
to.
I'm 12-0.
Somebody's keeping score, and they know what they're doing. So,
but
apparently,
the smart people out there know.
She's smart.
Sorry, man.
She's smart.
Is she?
She knows exactly. She's no my friend.
Yeah.
She's.
You win an occasional argument
together.
at home. You won one the other day. I give you that one. But
I win a lot of arguments at home.
But you've never won one on this show.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But I will give you a 50-50 shot of winning your first argument today.
Oh,
50-50
thank you.
shot. Okay.
Delusional.
Yeah. Okay. Now, for our first question, this is from across the pond. This is from Richard from Belper, England. It's Belper, England. So do I.
Love England.
Belper is about 3 hours from London. It's about 175 miles. And Richard says, what do you both tell your single, lonely friends? I'm 26, a guy looking for a girl. I'm from a small town in the UK, a guy who loves US and UK sports.
Oh, so nice.
But I can't fill the void that being single brings. Any advice? So your misadvice.
Not
Ernestine.
misadvice, but I do give some advice to my friends, as well as I seek advice from my friends.
Question,
but
she doesn't have a good answer for it.
To me, I know everybody says you have to go on dating sites. And I don't know, maybe long ago when dating sites first started, they were different. But I know now dating sites are not the greatest. My sister Joyce, who is single and does not have a relationship, but would like to be in a relationship, she has been on at least 3 to 4 dating sites consistently. She did not want to do it. I coaxed her into doing it without her even knowing. So what I did, typical Lucy episode here,
Lucy Ricardo
I filled out the application for all of these Match.coms and whatever else there are. And I then told her after the fact, and she said, well, why would you do that? I didn't want to do it. I said, because Joyce, how else are you going to meet somebody? Nobody wants to do the way I believe is the best is through people. You meet someone. If I've set many friends up throughout my whole life, and they've worked, but I said, listen, let's take a chance. So she didn't want to do it. But what I started doing was I would pick out the guys and respond to the guys on my email like I was Joyce. But the problem is when I told Joyce about the guys, because some of them responded back, she said to me, that's not my type. Why are you doing, that's your type. I don't go for artsy, creative types. I go for more business-like. I said, but Joyce, look at, he's cute. He's
Did you go out with any of them?
Yeah, I went out with them. I forgot to tell you. The date when you thought I went to the movies, I was out on the date.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't working because my taste is different than her taste. And I kept saying to her, but look, this guy is nice and he works in the music industry. And she's like, I don't want to go out with somebody in the music industry. So I don't think that you can. I know people, I always see fathers put their daughters on Match or whatever dating site it is, or kids do it for their parents. I think the best way is just to find someone through friends. And I think you have to spread the word. I do it all the time with my sister. Whoever I meet, I always say, hey, do you have an uncle? Do you have a brother? I have a single sister. It hasn't worked yet, but maybe one day. But I think the dating sites are overrated. I know a lot of people have met their love of their life on a dating site, and I think that's a miracle. I really do.
I do too.
But I think if you've been on them lately, the pictures of these people, they post pictures when, if the guy is 50, they post a picture when he was 14.
Yep.
And they also, everybody wants the same thing. They want to take long walks on a beach. They want to go walk hand in hand and experience life. And it's just so ridiculous. Nobody wants to do regular things. So finally, my sister broke down and she wrote what she thought she wanted. I want somebody who doesn't want to scuba dive. I don't want them to, hike, whatever mountain it is.
Yeah.
She said, I just want a guy who wants to go to a movie and have dinner. And still, there's nobody. They do respond, and then immediately they ghost you. So I think it's a lot of hoo-ha.
And she tried, didn't she go out with 2 or 3
She went out with it. They were losers. They were just total losers, and they're just, I don't know. I don't have a lot of hope for the match.coms and the whatever J dates, and we've done them all. And I think that maybe if you're lucky, you meet one person out of 8,000 that'll work. I think personally, you have to spread the word for your friends and people that you meet that you're looking for someone. And I think you could do a long distance relationship. Maybe if he met someone that even lived in the U.S., you could do that. We did a long distance.
Well, sort
Connecticut, New York for 10 years.
Okay, but I saw you every Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, but still it's long distance. And I know people have long distance relationships.
Okay, but he can't fly to the U.S. every Friday and Saturday.
No, but maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
You can now, people Zoom and they get to know each other, but maybe he could find somebody where he lives.
Okay.
What's your advice?
So, Richard, I do agree on this point with my wife. I know these dating sites advertise we've got 50% success rate or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I just don't buy it.
I don't buy it at all because I've experienced it.
I haven't heard enough. Here and there I've had a friend who did connect and it did work out. Hazel doesn't know anything about this because she's spayed, right?
Oh,
so
she's not interested. She wants a career.
Okay. But look, this is just me. I don't believe you can count on meeting somebody on a dating site or meeting somebody in a bar. I think
a bar, people meet in a bar. I would rather go to a bar these days and take my chances there than these websites. The website is $150 for 6 months. And honestly, I could write a book about this along with my sister. It is a terrible place.
Okay,
People are liars, and nobody is real.
And I'm with you. I just think the bar mentality is the guys are looking for not for long term.
I don't know. I know a couple of people that met in bars and they got married. I think maybe bars were not the same now as they were back in the 70s when it was a pickup place. Bars and clubs are a good place to meet people.
Yeah.
And
I
don't know.
To me, Richard, it has to be meant to be, and I don't want to get too spiritual about this, but you just have to trust the higher power that there's somebody out. I guarantee you there's somebody for Richard out there.
Yes, of course.
Now, he might find that somebody, because he's a sports fan, if not a sports nut, they're going to have to give in to that and accept that, or he's not going to be a happy camper.
Look, I am not a sports person. No, I know now about sports.
From day one, because I declared myself up front, you accepted what it was.
But maybe he has to just open his spectrum a little bit and not. We talked
Saturday
about it
night, but Saturday night, I told you, starting at 5:30 Pacific time, I'm going to watch the Lakers.
I know the drill by now, but I've been with you for a while.
And I'm going to do a video after the game, and then it's going to be okay.
Yeah, but he needs to maybe open his, broaden his criteria and maybe go out with a girl who doesn't like sports, but maybe she'll end up liking sports.
Okay. So I look back at how I met the women in my life, and by far the most important woman in my life was you.
Thanks.
And I was single in New York City for an entire year. More, well, no, I was right at a year. I was right at a year when I met you.
Yeah.
And I met you by total meant to be accident at my show one day when you brought Kevin Dillon to the show to be on the show, and you're in the green room, and I accidentally ran past the green room and saw you.
Right.
And the rest is history.
Right.
As you always say, after our lives were never the same after that moment. Okay. But I didn't go on one date for 1 year in New York City. So I'm a single guy. I'm on television in New York City. And it wasn't that I wasn't open to it. It just didn't, Hazel, it just didn't work out. It just, like, nothing ever clicked. There was nobody I wanted to go out with. And I'd come out of another relationship, and I was kind of happy being single. And I do want to say, for single guys out there, I know it's a fine line between being lonely and being happy.
Yeah.
But with Joyce, sometimes I think she's happier just being Joyce.
Well, no, she would like to find a relationship, but when you don't have an alternative, you just accept that you're single and you're not with someone. So what are you going to do?
But sometimes you can be pretty happy being by yourself.
She's not ecstatic. She would love to meet somebody, but it has to be the right person.
Okay.
Why waste your time with these people that are just total idiots and losers?
Okay. So I say to Richard that sometimes you just have to kind of trust the universe, like it'll connect you.
I don't believe that, but I think you have to steer it a little bit. I say you have to open yourself up. I go to the grocery store, and if I'm talking to a guy, I look immediately to see if he has a wedding band on, and I think, oh, maybe he's okay for my sister. Oh. And then I
thought you were going to say maybe
he's okay for me. But no, and also my best friend Francesca, who's a doctor in New York, she's always looking at her patients, saying, oh, do you know somebody in L.A.? I have a good friend in L.A. because she and Joyce are close. So you have to spread the word a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Okay. There's no cut and dried answer to this.
No, but I think there's somebody you're going to get somebody because you're open for it.
Okay. But just be careful, Richard, that you don't just give completely in to somebody and you wake up one day married and very unhappy because you've met all of her criteria and conditions and none of your own.
He hasn't even had a date yet.
Okay, all right.
He's trying to find somebody just to watch a game with.
Heads up on this. I'm trying
Listen,
got to keep your eyes
I'm going to help him find somebody. I'm a good matchmaker.
Okay. And then, I think we're going to talk about this even a little later, but we have a friend who's going through a breakup right now, and you look at that and you say, oh, man, sometimes love is hell. I mean, it can just be...
sometimes, but that's life, that's life.
What's the old expression? It's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. So, so I'll buy
Richard's going to get somebody. I'm going to try to find him somebody. I know some people in England. I do. Yes, I know some people.
Richard, you got
I'm going to try to help you.
All-time pit bull on your side and on your case.
Because he's so sweet. He wants to find someone.
The hound of the Baskervilles is sitting right here. She will.
I don't care. I want him to be happy.
Hunt down your mate for life.
I will help him.
Yeah.
That's my word.
Hope it works.
All right.
And I hope you don't come back to us.
And then he can get married on our show.
Yeah, that's right. You can get married on our show.
Yes.
And you can maybe get divorced on our show.
No, he's not getting divorced. He's going to find somebody good, and I'm going to help him.
Okay. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay, you brought this up. I am. I just ate a little crow. You might have won that one, but I'm a little more pessimistic and skeptical.
You're a pessimist in life. Yeah. I am not. I am the most positive person you will ever meet in your life.
I think Richard just asked us like the ultimate question about life. How do you find your mate?
Well, that's okay because some people need some help, and I'm going to help them.
Okay. All right. You brought this up the other day when you asked if I'd heard from my old friend Craig, and he's
your old friend from when you were 5 years old.
Well,
no, 7
13.
years old.
I was 13. I met him in 7th grade.
All right.
You remarked to me the other day about how surprised you are how many of my old friends from high school, junior high, even from grade school that I do keep in touch with. And you read a stat that only about 5% of all people keep in touch with friends after high school graduation, right?
That's
only
true.
5%.
That's what I read.
So I'm definitely in that 5%, but you don't really keep in touch with any of your old friends.
No.
So I ask you, why not?
Because for me, again, I can't speak for everybody else, but that is way in the past. And I have no connection to those people when I was 6 years old or when I was 10 years old because I would hang out with someone. at this point in my life, it's not as though I remained friends with them throughout the years. My life took many different turns. I did not stay where I lived. I always wanted to move to New York City. When I was 5 years old, I knew I wanted to go to New York City. I love New York City.
Yeah.
But most of my friends wanted to stay where I lived, which was a smaller town on Long Island. And they did stay. And so I had no connection once I started to get older and I moved to New York when I was 17, going on 18. There was no connection with them. You had a connection because you keep going back to your old town in Oklahoma City.
Well, it's my town. It's where
Right.
I was born and raised. It's where my roots are.
Yeah. I
Okay.
didn't have strong connections to my roots.
Okay. Well,
You know, you had a team. You had a different world. You had this. It's not a storybook Hallmark world, but we didn't have college. I mean, we had colleges on Long Island, but it wasn't like we had OU and you rooted for your college team. I didn't come from that world.
I thought you meant my grade school baseball team, the Mayfair Chipmunks.
I
I keep in touch with
chipmunks,
several
no.
of the Chipmunks.
I didn't have chipmunks, no.
That's a great name, Chipmunks.
It
right?
is,
Not
but I like
squirrels,
squirrels.
chipmunks.
Squirrels are
We're
my
not-
favorite.
We weren't the Mayfair Squirrels. We're the Mayfair
Should have been
Chipmunks.
squirrels.
I don't know what the
But-
difference is, but
So
I still
you,
have a T-shirt, my game shirt with a chipmunk
yeah, you
on
do
it.
have a chipmunk. You have a
It's crazy.
chipmunk on your shoulder.
Okay,
but
so here's
you
my
have
point.
the connection with that. I moved away and moved
Okay.
into New York and had a whole new life than what I had on Long Island. And those people that I knew on Long Island, the friends, they dwindled because I didn't have anything in common with them anymore.
Okay, so I'm friends with several people I did grow up with.
Yeah.
I'm friends with Perry, who
Right.
I knew. I think he moved to my grade school in second grade, so I knew him in second grade. I played little league
Right, so that
baseball
you
with
were
him all the way
7
up.
years old or something.
7, yeah, it was probably 7, maybe 8. And then Craig, I met 7th grade year, and
Right.
he was the best man at my wedding and is my longtime closest friend. And then I keep in touch, as we talked about last week, with John and Susan, who are
Right.
from my Mayfair grade school in Oklahoma City. And I see them once a year when I go back. And I knew them from kindergarten. Literally, both were in my Mrs. Estes kindergarten class. Okay. They mean something to me because they're real.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew them when, and I watched them evolve into adults, and so did I. And my connection is deep with all of them, and I trust the connection where they won't fail me.
Yeah.
They're not newish friends, like nouveau friends who might not be there when you need them most.
Yeah.
And because I did get into newspapers, radio, television to keep I've told you, I try to keep my feet on the ground. I try to stay as real as possible. What is she doing? She's waving?
She's just panting. She's
Okay.
happy.
Oh, she's happy.
Yeah,
panting?
she's happy.
Oh, then she's really happy.
Okay.
Oh, she's liking what I'm saying.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
I mesmerize her. You talk and she
Right, yeah.
gets
She
bored.
goes to another planet.
So I want to keep my feet on the ground and stay real. Like I tell you, you can't let the vampire that is TV bite you in the neck and turn you into some creature who needs the mirror every day to look at. And you look in the mirror and you don't see yourself because vampires can't be
yeah,
seen in the mirror. So I try to keep in touch with them because they keep my feet on the ground, because now they're where I came from. They're who I really am was from those days.
Yeah.
And they're trustable in ways that new friends here in LA or friends that I've gained from television, I put quotes around gained from television,
Yeah.
they're not, you can't trust, you can't know, you can't feel. I feel like Lil Wayne is like a true friend.
But that's a different relationship.
Okay, and it's like a 15-year relationship,
Yeah.
but obviously he was in New Orleans, I was in Oklahoma City, so there's no way I have that deep a connection. But I do have a deep connection, and so do
Well, you have a
with him.
brother connection to him.
Yeah, and I don't have. This is another reason for me, and we're about to get to this, but I don't have a great connection with my brother, and didn't have with my late sister.
Right.
Okay, so these were my true brothers and sisters from childhood. So
You had a different
they
connection
matter to me.
You had a different connection to your town.
Okay,
I didn't have the greatest connection
I never
with my
thought
town.
I was too good for any of them. Like I've evolved away from them.
But mine
like
wasn't
I can't
about
have a conversation
being better
with
than
them
somebody.
anymore.
But I didn't have this you had this love for your town.
Yeah.
I didn't have a love
I didn't have
for
a
the
love for
town.
my childhood, but these people helped me survive my
I
childhood
didn't
from a
have
broken
that.
home.
I
Okay.
didn't have that.
Okay.
I didn't have those
Well,
connections.
you had a happy home. You had a mother that was the greatest mother in the world.
Yeah. I
Okay.
had a greatest mother in the world, and I
So-
had a really
so-
good father. But
so
then
that
they
was your-
started having issues. So
Okay.
then I didn't have a great house once I turned 13.
But your relationship with your mother only got stronger and stronger.
yeah,
Okay. So
forever.
you had a mother. I didn't have a mother relationship.
Right.
I didn't trust her. I definitely didn't trust my father. So I trusted my oldest friends. And I look back fondly on what they brought to my life because it mattered to me and it's real and it lasts. So I like to go home and feel like once a year my feet are back on the earth upon which I grew, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what
You think it's
have.
crazy,
No,
but
I don't have
whatever.
that connection. For me, going back home is really going back to New York City, where I moved
Yeah.
once I left my house.
Yeah, your
That's
friend
the
is
connection
the
to me.
city. Like,
Yeah,
like your life is the city.
All my fond memories,
Yeah.
really. I mean, of course, they're
Not
with my
people,
mother.
but places.
It's with New York.
Right?
That's to
Okay.
me means a whole lot.
Yeah.
To me,
But I get that
more.
when I go to Oklahoma City because I do love it there.
But I
And
also have friends that I've known. My friend Richard, I've known since, for almost 30 years. I've known Richard, and I'm still friends with Richard and my friend Tom and
Okay.
Francesca.
all right, you do. But
And Laura.
when
I have
I
a
go
lot of friends in
home,
New
as you
York.
know, I go play Lincoln Park public golf
Yeah, you
courses.
like to go back because it brings you back to when you were little.
And it's when life was the purest, life was the happiest. When I was playing Lincoln Park, the west or the east course, it
Yeah.
has 36 holes. It's rolling terrain. It's really
No, it's
a
beautiful.
beautiful golf
It's
course in the middle of
beautiful.
Oklahoma
No,
City. You
it
think
is.
Oklahoma
It's
City's
beautiful.
flat? Trust me,
No,
there are two golf
it's a
courses
beautiful
across
place.
I-35 from each other. There's
Yeah.
Lincoln Park and there's Twin Hills, which is private, and it is severe rolling hills through there. It was a beautiful plot of ground for a golf course.
No, it's
And so
beautiful.
when I'm there, I'm happy because I went back to where it was purest,
Yeah,
like
I
where it
understand
mattered
that.
the most, because it's where there was no stress
I understand
except trying
that.
to play golf.
Yeah, but you see, to me, my connection to Long Island is my mother.
Yeah,
And of
And
course, my
she's-
sister
yeah.
and my father and brother.
Yeah.
But my mother is no longer there.
longer there.
So to me, that
got it.
connection, my sister will say to me, "Why don't we go back? It'd be fun to go back." And I say, "Why? Mommy is not there." So to go back and pass my mother's house,
it's weird
To
that
me-
you still call her mommy, but that's okay.
well, she's my mother, and I call her mommy.
Okay.
But if I pass my mother's house, to me that's totally depressing and upsetting.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that because I can't go in the house. My mother is not going to be there anymore. So I would rather I block that out.
Okay. So I always go back to my birth house on 43rd Street. I even know the address,
Yeah, I
which
don't
I
know
won't
why
say
because
publicly.
but you didn't even have a good relationship with your mother.
I didn't, but I look at it and we sit. You've done this.
I
with
know,
me.
I've done this
We
with
just
you.
sit out on
Sit
the curb,
outside and look at the
right? And we
house.
look at the house. It's still there. It's
Yeah.
gone through a lot of dilapidation,
Right,
and
it's-
it's been
yeah,
it's sort
it's
of
been-
risen and fallen
yeah,
and fallen and risen
renovated
and
and-
renovated, and it's just a little 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house.
Yeah.
Got a nice backyard.
It's
Your
cute.
house had a nice backyard.
Yeah, it's very nice.
But the point is that I go back there because I look at it and I say, how did I get out of there? That's what I think. How
Oh, I
did me and
know.
my brother, because he went on to become a nationally
chef.
known chef and restaurateur in Chicago, how did we get out of there? Because in that 1-bedroom, we shared a bunk bed.
Right.
I was 2 years older. And so this was up until I was 5. He was 3. We moved to this other house that was only slightly bigger, but still in the same grade school district. But the point was, I look at it, and there have probably been 100 tenants in there since we left.
Yeah.
And because we left a long time ago. God, I was 5 years old.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
But I look and I say, how did my brother and I get out of there and do this? I don't know. It's a 1,000,000,000 to 1 shot. Truly
I
a 1,000,000,000 to
know, it
1.
is.
With those two parents who didn't even graduate from high school and what we were going through at that point and what they were going through because they had big alcohol issues. How did we get out of there? And I just shake my head and it puts my feet back on the ground and I say, thank you, God. And I stay a little humble.
But you
like-
look at life differently than I do. I go back and I get depressed saying, this could never be again. It's
Yeah,
so
well,
sad
that's
seeing
right.
my
You can't
mother's
have it
house.
back.
And so you look at things
I don't want
differently.
it back. I don't want it back.
No, but I would want it back, but I can't make my mother come back from another planet that she's on right now. So that's the difference.
She's in heaven, but you're not sure about that. But I am.
Well, I know that she's not here, unfortunately.
Okay, speaking of friendships, you have a very close friend right here in our gated community that we live in. This friend of yours is 105 years of age.
Yeah.
Her name is Adele. We did run into Adele last Saturday afternoon outside as her caretaker was pushing her in a wheelchair out in the LA sunshine. It shook you up. You got really upset. I think you were upset the rest of the day. And when we first walked up, she was asleep. And I think you feared for a second she wasn't going to come out of her sleep,
well, but
right?
Adele has been my friend for 8 years. And I met her when we lived in the other building, and she was 99.
We lived in another building in the same complex.
But
yes.
she's the coolest woman that you'd ever want to meet. And she and
She
I
is
struck
very
up a
cool.
friendship.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter how old she was, but she's the sweetest person. And we would just sit and talk, and she lived right next door, and she would come over and sit on our atrium, and Hazel would be really little, and she loved Hazel.
Yeah.
And throughout the years, we went to her 100th birthday party. But she and I have a very special relationship, and it's hard because she's older, and I don't know if she could last another 100 years, but I don't think she's going to.
No.
And it's too upsetting to me because I think of her in the sense of, she's not my mother, but she's older.
But I do think you identify her as part of your mother. Like she's become a little bit of your mother.
Yeah, a little bit. But
Evelyn.
she's asked me about my mother, and she said, I would have liked to meet your mom. What was your mom like? And we talk. And she came from Chicago, and she, in the 40s, she lived here I guess it was the 40s and the 50s, but she was friends with the coolest people. She would tell me stories about being friends with Groucho Marx and being friends with all these Hollywood stars back in the day. And she would take her kids trick-or-treating up in Bel Air with all these movie stars when they were real movie stars. And we just had a connection. And throughout the years, she knows everything going on in my life, what projects I'm working on. We always have a joke that I'm working on a TV project, and one day I'm going to win an Emmy. And I tell her, Adele, keep the black dress out because you need the black dress. So even when I ran into her the other day, I said, Adele, do you have the black dress? And she smiled. And so it really hurt me to find out she wasn't doing that well. And her caretakers are friends of mine, and they said she's just not, she's not remembering, and she remembers everything. She will call me up. She calls me every couple of days to see how I'm doing. Yeah. And during COVID, she went and she got her COVID shot. She went to Rite Aid. They all applauded her at 104 years old or 103 years old getting her COVID shots. And it just really hurt me to know that, to me, Adele is always there. And to know that she's not doing well.
But what did her caretaker tell us as soon as we walked up? What's her name?
Shelley.
She immediately said she's had a great life and she's still having a great life.
Yeah,
and she wanted you to know that it's as good as it can be at this point.
Right. And that I made her happy.
Yeah.
And when she woke up, and I said, Adele, it's me, Ernestine. And her smile was from ear to ear. And she just was so happy. And then Shelley told me that later in the day, she said she was so happy that made her whole day to see you. And she couldn't believe. And the first thing she said to me was, I love you, Ernestine. Okay. And I said, I love you, Adele.
You're playing a very crucial role in her life. And I can make a case you're keeping her alive.
Well, Shelley said that beyond her 2 sons that are alive, one son passed, that I'm the next person that she really loves.
Yeah. So I've told you before, but I'm proud of you for what you do for her. And it's only getting harder for you because every time you subject yourself to being around her or talking to her, you get tears in your eyes. Because it's hard because at some point she's just going to expire because it's life. And she looks incredible. Her skin is great. She
does. I should post a picture of her. She's got the best skin.
And she's
I said to her, Adele, your skin is incredible.
105.
And so Shelley said, I give her facials every other day. And Her skin is like a baby.
And the other thing she still does, not as much as she
Yeah,
used to,
she
gets on her bike.
She gets on her stationary bike in her house,
Yeah.
and she rides it for 1/2 hour up until a month ago.
And it's why I think it's a crucial point as to how she lived 105 years is that she does a half hour of aerobic exercise almost every day.
She does.
And she's very
And she'd say,
disciplined.
I got on the bike today. I only did 20 minutes. And I would say, Adele, 20 minutes on a stationary bike? I can't, I can hardly do it. And so, anyway.
Okay. Thank you for what you talked about with her.
You're
and
welcome.
Thank you for what you do for her.
So anybody who has a 100-year-old grandmother, great-grandmother, whatever, think you should consider that they're smart and not that they're just old.
Yeah.
That's how people look at people.
Yeah.
That they dismiss them because they're older. But they're a wealth of information and life.
Okay. You mentioned me the other day that another Bridget Jones movie is coming out. This one's on Peacock.
Yeah.
I'm proud to say I did not see either of the first two Bridget Joneses.
It's okay.
But you said this time Renee Zellweger has lost her husband, played by the great Colin Firth. I love Colin Firth.
Me too.
But this time she has a romance with a much younger man played by Leo Woodall. And we know Leo from a series we've been watching on Apple Plus called Prime Target.
Great.
Ernestine loves it. I'm starting to fade.
But he was in White Lotus.
Well, he got his breakout in year 2 of White Lotus, which we have not gotten into yet.
No.
But I keep saying maybe we should try it.
Yeah, I would.
Because
I like
it gets high marks from
everybody
we
loves
know,
White
right?
Lotus. Yep.
Okay. So he has become a big movie heartthrob. But in real life, you have to know that Renee is now 55 and Leo is 28. But supposedly in the movie, they're playing Bridget Jones is 51 and he's 29.
Yeah. So it's close.
Okay. It's called Mad About the Boy. Isn't that from a song?
Yeah.
Mad About the Boy. Is that from Footloose? I don't know.
Could be.
Anyway, so your thoughts on a 51-year-old woman with a 29-year-old man, even in movie life?
But it's classic. That's why there was a show with, what's her name from Friends, and I'm blanking out on her name, played in Cougars.
Yeah.
Remember?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But it seems
I don't
to
know
be
Friends. Sorry. I just don't
everybody
know
in
it
the
that
world
well.
knows Friends.
I know.
Courtney Cox.
Yeah, I thought
Courtney
it was a little
Cox had
silly.
the
Okay.
Anyway, but it's the old double standard. If you're a woman and you're older and you date a younger man, then you're a cougar.
Yeah.
If you're an older guy dating a younger woman, then it's wow.
You're cool.
Look at him. How that's applaud him
on the
for
move. Yeah.
right. You look at hey, he's got it.
You still got it.
So I don't get that. And we have friends that are older guys with younger women. And to me, what's the difference? An older woman can be 60, 70, 80, 40, 50, whatever it is, dating somebody in their 20s and 30s. If they connect, what is the big deal? That's what I don't know. Why is it so different for the guy with the girl than the girl with the guy?
I don't think either is wrong at all. I got no
Neither
problem.
do I. I think if you find love, like our friend who's looking,
I will warn.
take it wherever you can.
I will warn both the older woman and the older guy with younger.
Yeah.
The odds are stacked way against you because the younger person in the relationship has not evolved yet. And it might go for a period of time and be pretty to very good, especially for the older person. But at some point, the younger person is going to grow up, quote unquote, and say, I never really experimented with somebody my own age enough. Maybe they already have.
Unless they were, that's when you're really young. I mean, if you get somebody who's in their 30s and 40s going out with somebody in their 50s and 60s.
Yeah, that works.
It's different because two people have lived their life a little bit.
Okay, like us. You're 10-ish
10
years younger than me, but we met in 2005.
Right. But we had both lived a little bit before and knew you were married already. I wasn't ever married, but I was in a long-term relationship.
I had been married,
yeah.
And
but it's different.
I'm 50-ish and you're 40-ish, and now you're evolved. You're fully grown.
Yeah, and
adults.
You know what you want, and you know life a little bit more.
Okay.
But when somebody is in their 20s and somebody's in their 50s and 60s, then unless that person is so mature, but they're still there's still a learning curve
Yeah.
in life and experience.
So I went through one issue when I was dating this woman in Dallas for, I don't know how long we were together, 3 or 4 years. Then she left to come out here to LA.
Right.
And I'm left in Dallas, and I was very close with her younger sister.
Right.
So at that point, I'm like 32, maybe.
Uh-huh.
And the younger sister was 18. And I liked her so much that I thought, could I date her?
Right.
Because she was smart. She was more stable than her big sister to me.
Right.
And I thought she was cute. So I thought, okay, is there a chance this could evolve into something? And so we kind of went on a date one time, went to the movies, and I went home and thought, this is insane.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember, I think she just graduated from high school. Well,
Right.
it's not going to work because she hasn't grown up yet. And I had at that point. I'd been through a lot.
Yeah.
I had worked in Miami and LA, and now I was a columnist in Dallas. I knew where I was headed, and it wasn't with her as much as I enjoyed her company. And so I just closed my eyes and said, this is not going to work.
But didn't Elvis marry Priscilla? She was 14, or she was with, and Jerry Lee Lewis, the great Jerry Lee Lewis,
All right.
he married her. I think she was 14, right?
Okay.
I guess it depends.
Were
but
they faithful?
Maybe, I don't know. But look, if people get married the same age and somebody's not faithful, so what does that have to do with it? But I just think that the double standard for a woman dating a younger man, it just never has gotten to the point where it's as acceptable as a older guy dating a younger woman.
Okay. So in TV, there's always this sort of unwritten rule about either men or women hiring men or women to do a big TV job, that the golden age is 30. If you're under 30, you'll be a problem because you're not ready yet.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't grown enough. You haven't
Right.
matured enough. You haven't seen enough. You haven't encountered enough to be ready to handle a national TV gig.
Right, right.
And so a lot of producers I've known always say, I just at least need you to be 30 before
Yeah,
I'm going to put
yeah.
you on a big show.
Yeah. I
Okay.
don't know if would that still apply now?
I don't know.
There are a lot of
I mean,
super
obviously there are
whiz
lots
people.
of influencers on the internet who
I
are
don't know. I mean,
children.
Cranes devotes a whole issue to, the under
Yeah.
30 movers and shakers. So, but
Very good girl. Very good girl. And by the way, speaking of movies, so we're really into Paradise. We've mentioned it before.
Oh, it's
and,
great.
and I just have to say this publicly. I was going to do it on my show, and I said
Yeah.
I'm going to do it on your
okay,
show.
all right.
But episode 6 was the best by far of this first season
So
of Paradise.
good.
And the bizarre part of it was that the whole episode had one Die Hard reference
Oh
after
yeah,
another.
oh yeah, that's right. You were.
In fact, I
that's right.
nicknamed it Para Die Hard
Right,
because
right,
on
right.
that
No, it was
night,
great.
whoever wrote it is really into Die Hard. And
Vogelman.
but I think it says it was
Oh
written
yeah,
by
it was,
somebody else
yeah,
that
yeah,
episode,
yeah.
but
I'm
maybe
sure it was
he
written by somebody
contributed.
else. Yeah.
But You Ask for Miracles is the title of it.
Right.
And as soon as I saw the title, it
You
flashed
did
on the
say to
screen.
me,
I
that's
turned to her and
not
said,
Die Hard.
You ask for miracles, I give you the FBI. That's
Right,
from
right,
Hans
right.
Gruber,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
villain in Die
Alan
Hard.
Rickman.
Alan Rickman, the great Alan
Great
Rickman.
Alan Rickman.
The late, great Alan
Yeah.
Rickman. But it has one Die Hard reference after
It
another. And I'm
did.
saying, this is incredible.
That was good.
The whole
I enjoyed
episode,
it because I
start
know
to
enough
finish.
Die Hard from you, but
Yeah.
it was great.
Yeah.
They kept inserting a little bit of Die Hard, and
Yeah.
they even mentioned it in the episode about Die Hard.
Well, I'm just saying
Yeah.
they had reference after reference.
Yeah.
They probably had 5 Die Hard references in the episode.
Right,
Where
right.
I just kept saying, another one? And
Right.
another one? Someone was really fixated on Die Hard, which is the greatest Christmas movie ever to me. But it's so great.
But it's now
I could
become
watch it tonight.
okay. I don't want to tell people because some people haven't watched it, but it almost becomes the main character is a little bit like Bruce Willis's character at this point in the series.
Yeah, okay.
He's going up against all the bad people, and he's going to save the
Yeah,
world.
that's true.
So he is a little bit like Sterling K. Brown.
I will say
becomes,
this. He better be Bruce Willis because
Yeah.
he's going to be up against it here.
But I think he's getting ready to do it.
But the Hans Gruber is this woman who runs this 25,000 person little
City.
conclave
Yeah.
that's built underground after the apocalypse.
Yeah.
That supposedly blew up the whole world, but now they're saying maybe some people are out there still alive.
It's good.
It's
You have to
very
watch
good.
it.
It's very
really,
well written and very well acted.
oh,
Starting with
great.
Sterling K.
Sterling K. Brown.
He's going to win
He
something
has
for
to win.
this because
He has to win something.
boy, does he have quiet power
Man,
in this?
he is.
Whew.
He's right up there for me with Denzel.
Okay. I can't go that high,
Oh, I can.
but he's growing on me. And
I
I
really
didn't know
like
his
him.
work that well
Yeah.
until now. And this is tour de force by Sterling
Yeah.
K. Ooh,
It's great.
Okay. All right. Speaking of old and young, I'm the oldest of 3 kids. You're the youngest of 3 kids. So how do you think that affects our relationship? Or is that a fair question?
I think being the youngest, just in general, my mother would always say to my sister and brother, who are 6 years older and 8 years older, don't, give that to her. She's the baby.
Yeah.
Let her do it. She's the baby. So I was always the baby. But the older I became, even though my mother would always say to me, my mother when she was 90 would say to me, "You're still my baby." And I say, "Mom, I'm not your baby. I'm not 2 years old." She'd say, "You're always going to be my baby." And so that was the way that was drummed into my head. But as being the baby, I also was almost a caretaker because I always took care of wondering if my mother is okay and my sister is okay. Very, very, I have something wrong with me probably that my best friend and I always laugh about because she's the same way. We always want to make sure everybody is okay. It's a very Woody Allen neurotic thing. But I always watch out for you. So even though I'm the youngest, I became the sentinel of the watcher over everybody's life and making sure they're okay and always putting myself down on the bottom.
The dynamic in your family made you like the oldest because you were the decision maker above your brother and your oldest sister, your older sister.
Because they were out of the house.
Yeah.
When I was little or when I was growing up, 8 years older, my sister was already off working and dating and having her own life, and my brother was off to college, and so I was home with my mother. So I was overseeing, making sure everything was okay. And when things got really bad in my house between my parents, I became really the overseer of my mother.
You did. So
that carried through.
You're unlike any other youngest child I know because you don't need to be babied.
No.
You're in charge. You want to be in charge. But then
sometimes that gets, it gets tiring because after a while, I need somebody to make sure I'm okay.
Yeah. And I'm the opposite because I was the oldest in a broken home and got scarred by it in ways I can't.
Oh, you have a lot of scarring from that.
I can't come out of. I can't rise above it because it was scary because I was the first. Right. And I had nobody to ask because I didn't have a mother and father to ask about how does this work?
No,
I just had to go figure it out by myself.
You were the test pilot.
No, I was the crash test dummy.
Yeah.
And I hit the wall a bunch of times.
Yeah, because you're
trying to just figure it out. How do you do this? So I'm like the ultimate survivor, and my whole mentality is based on how do you survive? How do you survive and then thrive? How do you rise above these circumstances? Because it always seems like I'm against all odds, against the world. The world is against me. So I have that.
That's how you view things in life. You do.
I do.
And you also have this thing that I don't need anything. Just I'm fine. I don't need that. I don't need that. You're always like
self-sufficient.
That. Self-sufficient.
Yeah.
But in the end, you're not really all that self-sufficient. But in your head, you think you're self-sufficient.
Yeah. But I didn't have a mom, so I do rely on you to be part mom.
And that's why, and I'm the mother of the world. So there you go.
Yeah. Okay. And this is what struck me when I first met you. My youngest sibling was my sister. She's passed away.
Right.
God rest her soul. Named Luann.
Yeah.
And as soon as I met you, you were 3 or 4 years younger than Luann, and you seemed like you were at least 10 years older than Luann was because she was the baby sister.
Well,
but in the end, she took over for my mother the way you took over.
But I was always, my mother told me, an old soul.
Yeah, that's true.
So I was probably born in the 40s.
Okay, comments. This is from @Aaron Chef. Not everyone is meant to have kids. I completely understand and respect Ernestine's point of view. Kids need 24/7 attention,
That's
and
true.
a lot of people don't want to dedicate their lives to that.
If they're a good parent.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Live the way you want it and try to live it without regrets.
That's the
right?
best. I
Live
like
the
that.
way you want
Yeah.
life, and then
Don't regret about
regrets.
it. I agree.
Okay, so you chose not to have kids.
No.
We talked about this. I was all into not having kids, which is why we had a chance to be together. And because if you did want kids,
Well, and if you didn't want kids, then it's not a good match.
it's just not a good match. And so we appreciate that
Yeah,
perspective.
I'm
because
glad other people feel that
we
way.
don't. I don't have a single regret about not having kids. Do I look way down the road at Adele? We talked about at 105. Would it be nice to have kids to take care of you at that point? Yeah, probably
Yeah,
would.
but my mother always made the point when I told my mom I don't want kids, and she said okay, and I said, but sometimes I think about who's going to take care of me when I get really old and I don't have anybody, and she said, not every child is you that. We would kill for my mother. We took care of my mother no matter what. We would never put my mother in a home or anything. And just like Adele's kids didn't put her in a home. But not every kid thinks about that.
Okay.
So you have to be lucky that you have kids that.
I'm just hoping that God takes care of you and or me when we're 105. If we ever,
I hope
there's
so.
no way I'll get that.
Oh,
far.
please.
Oh, I just.
You don't know anything. That's the negative. Here we go back to the negativity.
Okay.
Positive. Nobody knows anything in life.
That's a fact. Okay,
So,
this
there you
is
go.
Randy from Madisonville, Louisiana, who asks,
Louisiana.
I know you and Ernestine are not going to have kids, but if y'all were to have kids, what would you name them?
Wow.
So now we have to name kids that we're never going to have. Do you
I
have
named
anything?
Hazel.
That's a good name, actually, because you love that
I like the
60s
TV series.
show.
It was an old TV series that
Sitcom
the woman
featuring
was the
Hazel.
maid
Yeah.
named Hazel.
Mhm.
I love Marlo Thomas because
That's a
she
good
was on
name.
one of my favorite TV shows. It's an old show from the 1960s called That Girl.
That girl.
And I think she's
you
one of the
have
most
been
beautiful.
That girl to me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
To me, she's one of the most beautiful women, especially back in the 60s. So I think Marlo, I like for the girl. And then for a boy, I like the name Archibald.
You do?
It was Cary Grant's
Oh,
name.
yeah.
And I
But
love
do you
old
like
Cary.
Archie?
I like Archie. I like Archie.
It's an old-timey kind
Well,
of name.
Archie is also a comic book.
Yeah.
I like Archie.
Archie Bunker? No, Archie
Yeah,
Bunker? You
but
don't like
Archie,
that.
Cary Grant, to me.
You have to pair it with my last name. I assume you'd want our children to have my
Oh.
last name, right?
Oh, I guess so. I forgot
Or
about
would
that
you
part.
not?
Forgot about that part.
Archibald Bayless?
Archie Bayless. I think that's
not bad.
cute.
Okay, it's
I think
kind of
it's
cute.
nice. Yeah. What about you?
Okay. As weird as this might sound, I thought about this. I didn't even bounce this off
No,
you.
I don't know anything.
You know, I do want to pair the first name with my last name.
Yeah, people do that, I guess.
Okay. I've always liked the name, and this can go unisex, boy or girl.
Okay.
I like Bailey.
Oh, that's
The
a
name
good name.
Bailey and Bailey Bayless would be
That's
a good
a
name.
great name.
Bailey Bayless. So
That's
it could
a
be a
great-
boy named Bailey. There have been boys named
Yeah.
Bailey, and there have definitely
Yeah.
been
Oh,
girls
I like
named
that
Bailey.
name. That's a good name. That'd
So
be a
whether
good
it's a
actor's
boy
name.
or a girl, I would go Bailey.
Yeah.
I told you the other night we were just kicking this
And they could
around.
call her Bay. Bay.
Okay. Hey, Bay.
Hey, Bay.
Okay, that
That's
works.
cute.
Yeah, it's cute. Okay.
Okay.
I have always liked the name Daphne for a girl.
Yeah.
Daphne Bayless. I like
I
the
like
ring
that
of
name,
that.
too.
But Bailey would work
That's
for
a
me.
good name. I like that.
And if we had a boy and a girl, we could call them both Bailey.
Bailey 1 and Bailey 2.
Okay. All right.
That's
Enough
good.
of that
I like
because
that. I think
it's
that's good.
not going to happen.
Well, we can get another dog.
We could get another
And
dog.
named it,
But I'm pretty
we can name
sure
it Bailey.
you're not going to have a child, right? Is that?
Oh,
We're
please, I can't
over
even
that.
deal with her.
That's a fact. Okay, this is another comment from Penny Help Jess at Penny Help Jess. Me and my wife have not been married for the past 23 years. A piece of paper doesn't make a wife or a
I
husband.
agree.
Behavior does.
I agree totally.
That's a good comment.
I mean, if you and I hadn't moved here,
no, we would
not
It's
be
highly
married.
possible we just would have
still
stayed
be living
together.
And I would have had my own apartment on the east side,
Yeah.
and you would have had your place on the west side. I agree totally.
Okay.
I think people that are married, they don't care about their paper that says they're married. So a lot of people just do what they want to do and they get married.
Yeah. I always kind of liked it that we were just living together, not in a bad way, because I was
love
committed.
living together.
I didn't cheat on
Well,
you.
I didn't cheat on you, so
but we were very faithful to each other.
we had a relationship.
And there's a little edge to it in a good way, because we're not fully
We didn't
legally
live together.
committed.
Yeah, and we didn't live in the same place.
No, we didn't. Okay.
So
it had a level of romance to it that after you get married, it kind of fades away a little bit.
I don't agree. I don't think
It's
think the paper changes how you feel about somebody.
Okay.
Maybe for you, but not for me.
Yeah.
It's like saying, oh, here, this legal document. Now I don't want to be with that person anymore. Now we're married. To me, it didn't make a difference. Just legally, it made a difference to me legally when we moved out here.
It made a slight difference to me, because I'd never, when I was married, I didn't feel like I picked the right person.
But you had issues.
I had many
I didn't have any other issues. You got a lot of issues.
I got issues.
You got lots of issues.
I got more issues than she has.
You got a lot of issues.
And she's got lots of issues.
Yes. So.
All right. Comment from at Drowning in the Hudson.
Oh, that's great.
Feel like this is a third person perspective of couples therapy with you and Ernestine.
We welcome you.
Sometimes I think we need actual couples therapy,
that.
And maybe this helps a bit.
Maybe
that we're forced to face each other and face these issues.
Speak our minds.
Okay, and this is final comment from at Maker Farina 1271. Hazel hates kids. Oh my God, too fun. Hazel does. We don't have kids, and she's a chip off her block. Hazel hates kids. We take her to the mall, and kids love Hazel, and they want to come pet her, and she's going to take their hand off.
That's why she doesn't care if she ever had kids.
We were sitting the other day at these little picnic tables in this section of the mall where we always sit. We eat a pretzel, no butter, no salt.
No butter, no salt. Yeah.
Right? I drink a Diet Coke, which is my vice, with Diet Mountain Dew.
I have a tea.
Yeah, she has a tea. And there was a little girl, she was probably 8 at the next table.
Oh, yeah, she was cute.
And Hazel
she wouldn't stop.
Just hawkeyes her, just watches her.
Just waiting for her to make a move.
And as soon as she jumps up, and she was just going to run around the table and say something.
No running.
Oh, Hazel goes,
running.
I have to grab hold.
No, she doesn't like kids playing, running.
She's going to go after her.
Yeah, she's not.
Because she ran.
She doesn't want kids around her.
See,
so she lives in the best house.
She's perfect for us.
That's why.
No kids allowed, right, Hazel?
Hazel says, I'll take adults, maybe, but no kids.
I needed a lick right in the nose.
That's
Thank you very much. Okay, that is it for round 13. I think we survived, at least for now. 13. We will see you next week if, in fact, we're still speaking.
We're still speaking. Peace out.